Healthy season or not, I don't care. This poke bowl is the best. A poke bowl to me needs to be both simple but also complex enough in texture, flavor, appearance that you want to eat it no matter what time of the year, whether it's the new year or if you just want something that tastes good and makes you feel good. I'm not gonna say that this is that low calorie, it's probably not, but it's incredibly delicious, it's nutritious, but more specifically, it is the poke bowl of my dreams. That being said, let's make this, shall we? We're gonna start by marinating fresh, beautiful fish. Then I'll show you the proper way to cook rice. We'll then make some quick prep vegetables and toppings, and finally we'll whip up some easy sauces and assemble the most delicious poke bowl. Hey, did you know that in order to make a poke bowl with raw fish in it, you need to start with raw fish? You're gonna need about 8 ounces each of sushi grade salmon and sushi grade tuna, specifically a kami, the lean tuna. But you could use chutoro or otoro if you wanted to be real fancy, but when you are sourcing this, if you're going to be eating this raw, you must source this correctly. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just saying find a place that is selling it that is sushi grade. Some people say that doesn't matter. Some people do. For your own safety, just do it, please. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have 8 ounces of a beautiful salmon. When you're cutting fish like this, you don't really want to saw at it. You want a very sharp knife, and you're just gonna do one nice clean stroke, ideally from heel to tip, applying very little pressure. Let the weight of the knife run through the fish. And then once you've done that, you sort of have these beautiful 1/2-inch thick batons. You'll line them up and then simply cut at 1/2-inch intervals, and you've got roughly evenly shaped little cubes of salmon. As you're doing this, I would recommend chilling the fish if it takes you a long time so that the fish stays ice cold. You can also set this bowl over a bowl of ice water, which will also help with that.
Once you finish slicing the rest of your salmon, repeat the process with your tuna until you have all your cubes.
And you're gonna place that all into a bowl. Now, we're gonna marinate this fish. You're gonna add 1 teaspoon of kosher salt, a 1/2 teaspoon of sugar, 1 teaspoon of mirin, a 1/2 teaspoon of sesame oil, and 2 tablespoons of white shoyu. You can also use a light soy sauce. I use white shoyu just because I like the flavor, but also it keeps it from darkening too much as it marinates. Lastly, I have 2 garlic cloves, which I'm just gonna crush left whole. That's it. Subtle flavor. I don't want chunks of garlic all over. I just want like a light perfuming. So you're gonna fold that together very gently, a couple times just to coat. And you're just gonna let that marinate and sit while you prepare the rest of your ingredients. Keep this covered in the fridge. Rice is nice. It's also extremely important that you do this properly. So 2 cups of a short grain rice into your rice cooker. This is Tamaki Gold. I hate long grain rice or anything like that in a poke bowl. I think it's disgusting. I want a very chewy, dense, and beautiful short grain. First, we're gonna wash this. So to wash it, you're literally gonna stream in some water from your sink, stir constantly with your hand, agitate that rice, and you'll notice the water gets super cloudy. Then you're gonna slowly tilt out and drain off that water, being careful not to pour your rice out. And you're gonna repeat that. And you'll do this about 3 times until the water runs mostly clear. I like to level my rice out so it's all one even level so it cooks evenly. And then from there, you're gonna add equal parts water. So it's 2 cups of Tamaki Gold and 2 cups of water. You can see it's, for the most part, pretty clear. Finger test, if you touch the rice with the tip of your finger, the water line should go just up to the top of your nail. You put this in your rice cooker, press the on button. No clue why it does that song. You can do this in a pot, obviously, but any other cooking method outside of a rice cooker, unequatable. Now, for our carrot topping. A lot of poke places, they just throw in shredded carrots and call it a day. We're better than that. We're gonna lightly, quickly pickle them, but no boiling required. 3 tablespoons of white vinegar, 1.5 tablespoons of water, 1 teaspoon of kosher salt, and 1 teaspoon of sugar. Whisk till that's dissolved, and then we have 2 beautifully peeled carrots right here. We're gonna cut them into like 3 to 4 inch segments. And then obviously you can use your knife and cut this super thin like that, which is perfectly fine. Or if you wanna speed that up, you can use a mandolin. Point is, I want you to cut them into very fine sheets like this. Then from there, you can stack those sheets up, and then you're gonna very thinly cut them the same width the other direction, so you end up with a nice, beautiful little thin julienne. Look at that. Then repeat with the rest of your carrots. Once those are all julienned, put it in your quick pickle liquid, and then you're just gonna give those a light toss in the pickling liquid. They're not really gonna fully pickle, you're almost mostly just dressing them. They will pickle a little, because we're gonna leave them here, either in the fridge or at room temp, it really doesn't matter, while we complete the rest of our bowl. Fried shallots. I really think you guys should make these. I was gonna say they were gonna be optional to make them easier, but I think this is a good learning moment for you because everything else in this is not really cooked. It's just kind of thrown together. If you have the extra time, I really recommend you do this. It's a good technique to have, but when you have a good fried shallot, it does something to you. Mandolin, you can do this with a knife. I've said it a million times. It's just, they're more consistent, and this thing gets them 100% consistent essentially, or at least 98% consistent, which deeply affects how they get fried. You're gonna wanna slice them, and we want these just under a 1/4 inch thick. Once you got your thickness right, you're gonna slice them up. I have 4 medium-sized shallots here. Try to find shallots that aren't too wonky shaped either, like a nice round one like this, I like that. All right, 3 to 4 medium shallots, looking lovely. Now, we move to the oil. We have a saucier pot. You want something wide enough to fit all this in there so you can see the ratio of onion to pot. The oil is cold, it's filled up no more than halfway. Very, very important. We don't want this overflowing. So you're gonna add your shallots to your cold oil. The heat is completely off. This is vegetable oil. You can use canola, you can use vegetable, you can use avocado if you wanna spend a bunch of money. I don't care. Do whatever you want. Just make sure it's neutral tasting and can handle high heat. Set that to medium heat. This is both the hardest and the easiest part. All you gotta do is using chopsticks, you're gonna kind of break those up. And once they're broken up, you're just gonna kind of let them chill in there. Once they start bubbling, you're gonna take your chopsticks, separate them kind of like so, and you're going to constantly stir in a circular pattern around your entire pot just to keep agitating those onions. The whole point is to evenly cook them out. You want them all to cook at the same rate. If one side cooks faster than the other, you're gonna end up with one part that's fried perfectly and one part that's like halfway raw and not fried at all. Super important. So you're literally just gonna stand here stirring constantly for the next like 5 to 8 minutes. These are now done. They've stopped bubbling. They're lightly golden. You pull them now. You might be thinking, oh, I want them darker. I want them to be really golden brown. Don't do that. If they've stopped bubbling, then that means that they are, in fact, fully fried. They might feel soft. You can see that they're soft, but they're gonna crisp up as they cool down. If you let them go any longer than that, this color here, they're gonna turn about 5 shades darker. You do not wanna burn these. They become very bitter and not so delicious. You're gonna spread them out onto a paper towel, drain them of the oil, and then while they're still hot, gonna immediately season them generously, kosher salt, season high, so it spreads. To prevent them from going soggy at this stage, I'll actually transfer them to a new set of paper towels because this one's really oil laden. This is also an opportunity to toss them with the seasoning. Kind of like toss them like that. And then I'll transfer them over to a new paper towel. And then I'll bring that paper towel right back. And you have a beautiful, I mean, look at these, they're perfect. Fried shallots. Now they're still gonna be a little chewy. Let them cool completely. That can take 5-10 minutes before they become crispy. Put them in a dry, cool area, not a humid area, not a wet area, and definitely not the fucking refrigerator. And they will crisp. Next, you're gonna lightly sear some edamame. So I have a 12-inch stainless steel skillet, 2 tablespoons of a neutral high heat oil. You're gonna heat that over medium-high heat until very hot and nearly smoking. Once that pan is hot, you're gonna add 2 cups of frozen edamame. This is probably gonna sputter quite aggressively, so be careful. Toss that, and then you're gonna sear them for 2 to 3 minutes undisturbed. Little bit of salt to taste. Do not touch them. After they've been undisturbed, now you can toss them. You're gonna get a spoon to loosen. Oh yeah, look at that. So you got a little char on one side. That's exactly what we want. Give those a nice toss. Now at this point, they should be hot throughout. If they're not, you'll reduce the heat to medium, toss them a few more times until they're hot throughout. Taste them. Oh yeah, those are hot. You're gonna touch more salt to taste, just make sure they're nice and seasoned. And then you're gonna finish with about a tablespoon or so of lemon juice. Tossing to coat, heat off. That is your edamame.
As we're wrapping up all of our components, it's time for our sauces.
You could skip a ponzu sauce, but it's nice to have one on the side, and it's very simple to make. Half a cup of soy sauce, a 1/4 cup of yuzu juice, 2 tablespoons of mirin, 1 tablespoon of rice vinegar. Give that a little whisk, and then optionally, if you want, you can add a 2-inch square of kombu and 1 tablespoon of katsuobushi. And you can let this sit, honestly, overnight or at least about 10 to 15 minutes. After that has marinated, you're just simply going to strain that out, and you have a delicious ponzu ready to be used. This is my favorite part, and it's a little trashy, if I'm being honest. But I like a little spicy mayo. Sue me. It's like the American cheese of a cheeseburger. It's just good. 3/4 of a cup of Kewpie mayonnaise. You can make your own, totally. 2 tablespoons of sriracha, 1 teaspoon of gochujang, 2 teaspoons Sichuan peppercorn fresh ground. I know it's a lot. You can reduce it. You could also completely omit it. 1 teaspoon of rice vinegar and 1 teaspoon of soy sauce. And then you're gonna add a generous pinch of sugar and a generous pinch of salt. It's optimal if you whisk it just to help break that gochujang up, and you have a beautiful spicy mayo with numbing spice. The rice is done. Just make sure that when your rice finishes cooking, that you go ahead and gently get in there and fluff it right away. As it cools down, it's gonna become much more chewy, much more nice. I want the starches to gelatinize, which will only happen when it cools down a little bit. So fluff it, leave it out like this, let it cool a little bit, like 10 minutes before you use it. Green onion, you can slice this into rounds. I actually like to slice it into thin threads. So you're basically gonna cut it almost in line with the green onion itself, just slightly off. So you're gonna press that down nice and firm and you're just gonna start working it. Slice as thinly as you can. Now you're gonna be left with these sort of like threads. You could honestly put these on as they are. I think they look a little bit like grass and I want them to curl a little more. So you can optionally submerge them in some ice water. I have a mesh strainer set over an ice bath here, and you can just kind of lightly toss them. This does two things. It freshens up the flavor a little bit. It's not so spicy. Double set of paper towels here. Gently squeeze out some of that water, shake off the excess, and then spread them out, and then gently dab them off. Once they've started to dry off a little bit, they're going to beautifully curl like so. I mean, look at that. That's just dainty and nice. Don't we all just want to be dainty and nice? Last but not least, one more crunchy vegetable to add to our list is a beautiful spicy little radish. Slice on a mandolin or slice with a knife. You're gonna cut it thinly, slightly less than a 1/4 inch. I want it nearly paper thin. It's funny, like some of these recipes will be like 1/2 cup of whole radishes, 2 cups of whole radishes. Dude, you're gonna end up with like 6 billion slices of radish. You really only need like maybe 4 to 5 medium-sized red radishes. Now, next you're gonna need 2 to 3 avocados that are perfectly ripe. How do you identify a ripe avocado? There should be a firmness that just barely gives when you press it. If there's like pits where your finger just like goes directly in the avocado, yeah, that avocado is fucked. And if the avocado feels like the firmness of, let's say, a rock, that's also not gonna work. Just putting that out there. Another way is, if you flick off the stem of the avocado and it's nice and vibrant green in there, that's usually a good sign, but it's not a guarantee. 2, work your avocado. You're first going to make an incision at the top, roll your knife around, and then meet that same incision using the seed in the middle to block your knife from going all the way through. So I made an incision all the way around this direction. Now I'm gonna 1/4 turn it and make an incision the other direction so that the avocado is perfectly quartered. That way when it splits this way, and then it splits this way. You're gonna repeat that with all your avocados, and then with the remaining seed, you just give it a light tap, twist, and pull it out. When you do peel these, I like to start at actually the top rather than the bottom of the avocado. For some reason, they tend to peel easier that way. You're gonna take a smaller knife. You can also do this with your larger knife. I hold it like a pencil, and then you just run it through, slice it like so. Repeat that with all your avocados. All right, all my avocados are cut. We are officially ready to assemble. So you're gonna lay down a nice layer of rice, followed by your marinated fish, some fresh sliced avocado, your edamame from earlier, your light pickled carrots, your thinly sliced radish, a nice healthy mound of your fried shallot, fresh sliced green onion, and optionally you can add some furikake. Then just serve that with your sauces on the side. I think I'm actually gonna go ponzu. I'm gonna hit my fish. Really, you can eat this however you want. The goal is to try to get a little bit of a bite of everything. Wow. The marinade on the fish is crazy. You don't even need the sauce. The marinade is obviously adding a ton of flavor to the fish, but it's also firming it up. Because of the salt content in there, instead of like pickling or cooking it, it's drawing out some of the excess moisture and causing the tender flesh to become this just firm, delicious, nice texture while still being incredibly tender. And then all the flavors that are in here, the crunchy shallots, the nice like sort of slightly sweet edamame, the creaminess from the avocado, and the sharp, tangy crunch from these beautiful pickled carrots. And that's carried by these slightly warm rice. Just like in sushi, a great nigiri piece should be cold fish on slightly warm rice. That is the perfect bite when it comes to nigiri. And it's the same thing with the poke bowl. You want your rice to be just ever so slightly warm. This is a healthy, nutritious meal. Great way to ring in the new year. If you want the recipe, the link is in the description for the recipe. Nourish your body with good food and good technique. Love you, subscribe, bye.